April 9, 1942, Bataan Peninsula, Philippines. Major General Edward King stands in a small house near the town of Lamao, facing the most difficult decision of his military career. Outside, 76,000 American and Filipino soldiers wait. They're starving, they're sick, they're out of ammunition. They've been fighting the Japanese for 3 months with no reinforcements, no supplies, no hope of relief. King has just made the decision to surrender, the largest surrender of American forces in history. He's doing it without authorization from General Douglas MacArthur, who evacuated to Australia weeks ago. MacArthur's last order was no surrender. But MacArthur isn't here. He's not starving. He's not watching men die from malaria and dysentery and Japanese artillery. King is here, and he knows if they keep fighting, everyone dies. The Japanese are offering surrender terms. They'll treat prisoners according to international law, Geneva Convention. Proper food, medical care, humane treatment. King doesn't believe them entirely, but he believes surrender is better than annihilation. He's wrong. What happens next is the Bataan Death March. A forced march of 76,000 prisoners of war, 65 miles through tropical heat, with no food, no water, and guards who will beat, bayonet, and shoot anyone who falls behind. About 10,000 will die in the march. Thousands more will die in the camps that follow. It's one of the worst war crimes in history, and every step of it is preventable. The story starts 4 months earlier. December 8, 1941. 10 hours after Pearl Harbor, the Japanese attack the Philippines. Clark Field, the main American air base, is caught with planes parked wingtip to wingtip. They're destroyed on the ground. Half the American air power in the Pacific gone in one strike. General MacArthur commands the American and Filipino forces, about 140,000 troops total. But most are poorly trained Filipino soldiers, raw recruits who joined months ago. They have old rifles, little ammunition, almost no artillery. The American units are better equipped but outnumbered. The Japanese land north and south of Manila, converging on the capital. MacArthur orders withdrawal to Bataan Peninsula. It's a planned defensive position, jungle-covered, mountainous, easily defended. The plan is to hold Bataan until reinforcements arrive from the United States, but no reinforcements are coming. The United States is fighting a two-ocean war now. Resources are going to Europe first. The Philippines are on their own. By January 1942, 80,000 American and Filipino troops are trapped on Bataan. They're supposed to have supplies for 43,000 for 6 months, but they have 80,000 mouths to feed. The rations are cut immediately. Half rations, then quarter rations, then whatever can be found. The soldiers are hunting monkeys, snakes, iguanas, anything with meat. They're eating plants, roots, leaves. Many get sick from eating the wrong plants. The dysentery is epidemic. No proper latrines. Contaminated water. Men are shitting constantly. Dehydrated. Weak. Malaria is worse. The peninsula is swampy. Perfect breeding ground for mosquitoes. There's not enough quinine. Not enough medicine. Men are fighting with 104-degree fevers. Shaking. Delirious, some collapse at their positions and die there. The Japanese attack repeatedly. January, February, March. They're not having an easy time. The terrain favors defense. The American and Filipino troops fight well, despite the conditions. They hold the line, inflict heavy casualties. The Japanese lose thousands trying to break through. But the defenders are dying too, not from combat primarily, from starvation and disease. By April, the force is down to about 76,000 effective soldiers, but effective is generous. Most can barely walk. They're skeletons. The average soldier has lost 30, 40, 50 pounds. Some have lost more. The Japanese bring in reinforcements, fresh troops, artillery, air support. They launch a massive offensive on April 3rd. The defenders are too weak to hold. The line breaks. Units retreat in disorder. By April 8th, it's over. The peninsula is lost. King makes the decision to surrender. He sends officers under white flag to negotiate. The Japanese commander is General Masaharu Homma. He accepts the surrender. Tells King the prisoners will be treated well, transported to camps, fed, given medical care. King has no choice but to believe him. The alternative is watching everyone die fighting. At 6 a.m. April 9th, the surrender becomes official. The white flags go up. The firing stops. 76,000 men become prisoners of war. The Japanese are surprised by the number. They expected maybe 40,000 prisoners. They're not prepared for 76,000. They have no transportation, no supplies, no plan for moving this many people. They decide to march them. From the southern tip of Bataan to San Fernando, about 65 miles north, then by train to Camp O'Donnell. The march should take 4 or 5 days for healthy soldiers. For starving, sick men, it will take a week or more. The Japanese guards are told the prisoners will march. Anyone who can't keep up will be left behind. Anyone who falls out will be dealt with. The guards understand. Left behind means killed. Dealt with means killed. April 9th, the march begins. The prisoners are formed into columns, hundreds of men in each column. They start walking north. No food is provided, no water. The guards say there will be food and water at rest stops. There are no rest stops. The first day is brutal. The heat is oppressive. It's the dry season, temperatures in the 90s, high humidity. The road is dirt, churned to dust by vehicles. The prisoners are already dehydrated from weeks of starvation rations. Now they're walking in the heat with no water. Men start collapsing within hours. Heat stroke, dehydration, exhaustion. The guards respond by bayoneting them, or shooting them, or beating them with rifle butts until they get up or die. Many die. Private First Class John Emmerich is 22 years old. From Nebraska. He's been on Bataan since January, lost 45 pounds, has malaria. He's marching because he's too scared to fall. He sees men collapse, sees guards kill them, sometimes quickly, sometimes slowly. He keeps walking. The artesian wells along the road are the worst moments. The wells have fresh water, clean water. The prisoners haven't had clean water in weeks. They see the wells. They break ranks, run to the water. The guards open fire, machine gun fire into crowds of unarmed men trying to drink. Bodies pile up around the wells. The water turns red. Some men make it to the wells, drink. The guards pull them away, beat them, bayonet them, leave them dying next to the water they were desperate for. The message is clear. You march, you don't drink, you don't rest, you march or you die. The first night, the columns stop at a school building. Thousands of men crammed into a small space, no room to lie down. Men sit pressed against each other, no food, no water, no medical care. The wounded and sick are left to die or recover on their own. Most die. By morning, dozens are dead. The guards make the prisoners carry the bodies outside, stack them. The march continues, the living step over the dead, and keep walking. April 10th, the sun rises and the heat returns. The march continues. Some prisoners try to escape, run into the jungle. Most are shot before they make it 10 feet. A few escape, very few. The jungle is dangerous. Japanese patrols, no food, no water, no maps. Most escapees are recaptured or die trying. The guards are brutal, but not uniformly so. Some guards allow prisoners to help each other, allow men to carry wounded comrades. Other guards forbid it. beat anyone who tries to help. The inconsistency is maddening. You don't know which guard will let you help a fallen friend and which will kill you for trying. The beatings are constant. Guards hit prisoners with rifle butts for no reason, for walking too slow, for walking too fast, for looking at them, for not looking at them. The beatings are random and unpredictable. You can't avoid them by following rules because there are no consistent rules. The sun torture is deliberate. Guards make prisoners sit in the sun without hats for hours. In 95-degree heat, men pass out, die from heat stroke. The guards laugh. This is entertainment, watching Americans die slowly from the sun. The buzzard squads follow the march, Japanese soldiers in trucks. They drive along the column looking for stragglers, men who've fallen behind. They shoot them, or bayonet them, or behead them. Sometimes they make other prisoners do it, force an American to kill his friend, or both die. Most refuse, both die. By April 12th, the march has covered about 30 miles, halfway. The prisoners are in terrible shape. Those who were sick at the start are dying. Those who were healthy at the start are sick now. Dysentery, malaria, heat stroke, infected wounds, dehydration. The guards provide almost no medical care. No bandages, no medicine, no doctors. Men with treatable injuries die from infections. Men with malaria die from lack of quinine. Men with dysentery die from dehydration because they are not given water. The water is the cruelest deprivation. The prisoners march past rivers, streams, wells. They can see the water. They're dying of thirst. The guards won't let them drink. Some try. They're shot. The bodies are left by the water as warnings. Staff Sergeant William Brock is from California. He's 28. He's trying to help younger soldiers, carrying their packs, helping them walk. On April 13th, he tries to help a private who's collapsed. A guard hits him with a rifle butt, tells him to move. Bra helps the private up. The guard bayonets Bro, leaves him on the road. The private tries to help. Another guard shoots the private. Both die within sight of each other. The stories like this are countless. Thousands of small atrocities, guards killing prisoners for minor infractions or no infractions, just killing for the sake of it. The Japanese soldiers have been told Americans are soft, weak, unworthy of respect. Some guards believe this, act on it. Other guards are professional. They don't participate in the brutality, but they don't stop it either. They're following orders, marching the prisoners north. If some die, that's acceptable. If most die, that's acceptable too. April 15th, the columns reach San Fernando. This is the end of the march portion. The prisoners will be loaded on trains, taken to Camp O'Donnell. They've marched about 65 miles in 6 days. About 2,500 Americans and 7,500 Filipinos have died on the march. Shot, bayoneted, beaten to death, or died from heat and disease. The survivors think the worst is over. They're wrong. The trains are boxcars designed for freight. Maybe 40 people could ride uncomfortably in one car. The Japanese pack 100 into each car. The prisoners are pressed together, can't sit, can barely breathe. It's hot. The air is stifling. Men pass out. Some die standing up, held upright by the press of bodies. The train ride is 4 hours. Men are screaming, begging to get out, clawing at the walls. Some go insane. The heat and the pressure and the horror breaking their minds. When the doors open at Kappa Station, men pour out. Some are dead. Others are broken mentally. They'll never fully recover. From Kappas, it's an 8-mile march to Camp O'Donnell, the final stretch. The prisoners are beyond exhaustion. They're zombies, walking corpses. Some collapse on this last march. The guards shoot them. After 70-plus miles, they die within sight of the camp. Camp O'Donnell is not a camp. It's a death trap. built for 10,000 prisoners, now holding 50,000 Americans and Filipinos. No proper sanitation, one water spigot for the entire camp, no medical facilities, no food beyond starvation rations. The death rate at O'Donnell is 400 per day. Americans and Filipinos dying from disease, starvation, and beatings. The Japanese don't care. Prisoners are labor. If they die, more will arrive. The latrines are open trenches. They overflow constantly. Disease spreads, dysentery, malaria, cholera. The sickbay is a bamboo building with no medicine. Men go there to die. The doctors can do nothing but watch. The water line is the worst. One spigot for 50,000 men. The line is hours long. Men wait all day for water. Some collapse in line, die waiting. The guards beat anyone who breaks line discipline. The food is rice. Sometimes a handful of rice per day, maybe a little vegetable. Not enough to sustain life. Men are starving. They're eating anything. Rats, insects, grass. Some resort to eating the dead. Cannibalism is rare, but it happens. Desperation drives men to unthinkable acts. The Japanese use the prisoners for labor, building roads, airfields, working 12-hour days in the heat with no food and minimal water. The work parties are death sentences. Men work until they collapse. Then, they're left to die or shot if they're in the way. The grave detail is the worst job, carrying dead bodies to mass graves, dozens of bodies per day. The prisoners doing this work know they're burying their friends. Tomorrow someone will bury them. Some prisoners escape. They're helped by Filipino guerrillas who operate in the jungle. The guerrillas provide food, medicine, hiding places. Some escapees survive. Most are recaptured. The punishment for attempted escape is execution, usually beheading, in front of other prisoners as a warning. The months pass. June, July, August 1942. The death rate doesn't improve. Hundreds dying weekly. The Japanese move some prisoners to other camps, Cabanatuan, Davao. The conditions are slightly better, less overcrowding, slightly more food, but men still die. The prisoners who survive learn to adapt. They form groups, help each other, share food. The strong help the weak. The healthy help the sick. This mutual support is what keeps some alive. Without it, everyone would die. The morale is maintained through small acts of resistance, sabotaging work projects, stealing from guards, sharing news from secret radios. The prisoners know the war continues. They know MacArthur promised, "I shall return." They hold on to that hope, but MacArthur's return is years away. The prisoners don't know this. They expect liberation in months. When months become years, some give up. They stop fighting, stop caring. They die quietly. The Red Cross packages occasionally arrive, food, medicine, supplies. The Japanese confiscate most of it. What reaches the prisoners is minimal, but even minimal help saves lives. The prisoners who receive Red Cross supplies have better survival rates. The work details continue. The Japanese are building infrastructure for their occupation. The prisoners are slave labor, building what Japan needs to control the Philippines. Every road, every airfield, built with American and Filipino blood. 1943 passes, then 1944. The prisoners have been captive for 2 years, some for 3. They're shadows of their former selves, walking skeletons. Many are blind from vitamin deficiency. Others have lost limbs to untreated infections. All carry diseases that will affect them for life. September 1944, the tide turns. American forces are advancing. The Philippines will be liberated. The Japanese know this. They start moving prisoners, hell ships, transporting POWs to Japan or other occupied territories to continue slave labor. The hell ships are worse than the Death March. Prisoners packed into cargo holds, no ventilation, no food, no water, locked in for days or weeks. Many ships are unmarked. American submarines and planes attack them, not knowing they carry POWs. Thousands of American prisoners die when hell ships are sunk by friendly fire. The survivors of the hell ships reach Japan, or Formosa, or Korea. They're put to work in mines and factories, slave labor for the Japanese war machine. The conditions are worse than the Philippines. Colder, harder work, less food. Men die from overwork and cold. January 1945, MacArthur's forces land at Lingayen Gulf. The liberation of the Philippines begins. The Japanese retreat. They execute prisoners before leaving. Can't transport them, can't leave them to be liberated, so they kill them. Massacres at Puerto Princesa and other camps, hundreds murdered in the final months, but most camps are liberated. January, February, March 1945. American forces reach the camps, find prisoners barely alive, skeletons weighing 80, 90, 100 pounds, men who should be dead but somehow survived. The liberators are shocked. Hardened combat soldiers cry at what they see, the horror of the camps, the condition of the prisoners. It's worse than anything they imagined. This is what happened to the men who surrendered Bataan. The survivors are evacuated. Hospitals, medical treatment, food, real food for the first time in 3 years. Many can't eat. Their stomachs shrunken, their digestive systems damaged. They have to be fed slowly, carefully. Some die from eating too much too fast after years of starvation. The recovery takes months, years. Some never fully recover physically. All carry psychological scars. They have nightmares about the march, the camps, the guards, the friends who died. Many develop what we'd now call PTSD. But in 1945, there's no diagnosis, no treatment. They're expected to go home and resume normal lives. The trials come after the war, the International Military Tribunal for the Far East, the Tokyo trials. General Hama is charged with war crimes, responsible for the Bataan Death March. His defense is he didn't order the atrocities, didn't know they were happening. He blames subordinates. The court doesn't accept this. He was in command. He's responsible. April 1946, Hama is convicted, sentenced to death by firing squad. He's executed April 3, 1946, 4 years. To the day after his forces began the offensive that led to Bataan's fall. Other Japanese officers are tried, convicted, some executed, some imprisoned, but many escape justice. Lower-ranking guards responsible for murders during the march are never identified, never prosecuted. They return to civilian life in Japan. The survivors return to America. They're not treated as heroes. The surrender of Bataan is seen as failure, defeat. The American public doesn't want to hear about it. The veterans don't talk about it much. Too painful, too difficult to explain. They form organizations, American Defenders of Bataan and Corregidor. They meet annually, share stories, support each other. The bonds formed in the camps remain strong. These men survive together. They understand each other in ways no one else can. The death toll is calculated after the war. About 10,000 died on the march itself. Another 20,000 died in Camp O'Donnell in the first 2 months. Thousands more died in other camps over 3 years. On hell ships, in Japanese factories and mines. Of the 76,000 who surrendered, about 54,000 survived the war. That's a 30% death rate. 1 in 3 died in captivity. The Filipino prisoners suffered worse. Their death rate was higher. They received even less care than Americans. The Japanese didn't consider them worth the effort of keeping alive. The legacy of the Bataan Death March is complex. It's remembered as an atrocity, war crime, example of Japanese brutality. But it's also remembered as American resilience. The survivors endured unimaginable horror and lived. They maintained their humanity in inhumane conditions. The march changes international law. The Geneva Conventions are revised after the war. Stronger protections for POWs, clearer rules about treatment, responsibility of capturing nations. The violations at Bataan helped drive these changes. The survivors carry their experience for life. They have health problems, tropical diseases that never fully leave, malaria flares, digestive issues from years of starvation, dental problems from malnutrition, physical scars from beatings, missing limbs from untreated wounds. The psychological toll is enormous. Many have trouble maintaining relationships, jobs, normal life. The war broke something in them that never fully heals. They wake screaming from nightmares, can't watch war movies, can't talk about their experience without breaking down. Some find peace through therapy, through faith, through the veteran organizations, through talking with others who understand. But the peace is fragile. The memories never fade completely. The last survivors are dying now. It's 2025. The youngest would be over 100. Most are gone. Within a few years, all will be gone. The living memory of the Bataan Death March will die with them. But the story remains in books, documentaries, museums. The American Defenders of Bataan and Corregidor organization maintains the memory. The military teaches the history. Future officers learn what happened when surrender seemed better than annihilation. Remember the Bataan Death March, not as abstract war crime but as human experience. 76,000 men surrendered, expecting to be treated as POWs. Instead, they were marched to death, starved, beaten, murdered. Remember Private Emmerich walking despite malaria. Sergeant Bro dying while helping another soldier. The thousands whose names we don't know who died on that road. Remember, this was preventable. If the Japanese had followed international law, if they'd provided food, water, transportation, if they'd treated prisoners as humans, most would have survived. Remember that surrender didn't save these men. It condemned them to years of horror. Some died quickly on the march, others died slowly in camps. The lucky ones survived but carried scars for life. Remember the guards who participated in atrocities, the ones who shot prisoners at wells, who bayoneted the fallen, who beat men to death for entertainment. They were following orders, but they made choices. They chose cruelty. Remember the guards who showed mercy, who allowed prisoners to help each other, who looked away when men broke ranks to drink. They were rare, but they existed. Humanity persisted even in hell. This is the Bataan Death March, April 1942. 76,000 prisoners, 65 miles, 6 days of walking through hell, then 3 years in camps that killed slower but just as surely. One of the worst war crimes of World War II. One of the greatest demonstrations of human endurance, both at once.